Since the announcement of the Starlancer series at CitizenCon back in 2024, many people have been waiting patiently for the TAC variant of the Starlancer to release. With Invictus just round the corner and its release seemingly imminent, I thought it would be worth diving into some of the details of the ship and why it's got so many players excited. Upon release of the first variant, this line of ship seems to have been relatively well received by the community. We currently have the Starlancer MAX available, which is the cargo hauling version and the current loaner for the TAC. The MAX boasts an impressive cargo capacity as well as an extensive habitation facility too. Now, I had the Starlancer MAX on release, and while it may be an unpopular opinion, I didn't like it. However, my time with the Starlancer MAX was just after release, and there have been many tweaks since then, but many of my own sentiments seem to have been shared by a lot of other players too. The Starlancer TAC, however, seems to have addressed many of those issues I personally had, whilst adding many features that could be very desirable to a lot of smaller orgs and players out there. Let's dive into it. The Starlancer TAC is the combat patrol version of the series and potentially has one of the biggest redesigns between any two ship variants in a series I have seen so far. One of the main problems I had with the Starlancer MAX was the habitation section, which felt over the top and a big waste of space in the ship, giving each individual crew member an entire room and bathroom facility. It seemed too much, especially when you consider the majority of the gameplay functionality for living, as it were, does not exist at the moment. The TAC has done away with this large habitation section in exchange for a snub fighter hangar capable of holding a Mirai Fury, or potentially two depending on how adventurous you want to be with your parking. In my opinion, this is a very welcome change and really opens up new opportunities to players and smaller orgs. This is, to my knowledge, the cheapest ship to offer a hangar like this at the moment. There is now a much more modest bunk area for the crew with basic living amenities to go along with it. One of the most noticeable features of the MAX was the deployable belly section for loading and unloading cargo from the sides of the ship, which dropped to the ground. In the TAC, this is gone and has been replaced by two extra twin-size 5-man turrets on the underside of the ship, with their own dedicated turret room for the operators. Additionally, the TAC comes with 8 jump seats for the quick deployment of soldiers into the battlefield for ground operations, with 4 seats on either side. These jump seats also have a deployable ramp for those soldiers to exit the ship fast when it's needed most. Another great addition to the TAC in this section are the 2 tier 3 medical beds. While these aren't designed to give respawn capabilities, they will provide very useful healing functionality for those pesky tier 3 injuries that can harm a soldier's ability to function at peak levels. In my opinion, they've done a great job of reorganizing and using this space, which in the MAX felt very empty. It's easy to see why the TAC could become a firm favourite for small to medium-sized combat teams. The TAC retains the rear vehicle ramp and cargo area of the Starlancer series, allowing for the transport and deployment of ground vehicles such as the Ursa. It's hard to say right now whether the TAC will be able to carry any larger vehicles than was possible with the MAX, but I would doubt it at this point. Hidden towards the end of the ship on either side of the cargo ramp are 2 dedicated missile turrets controlled by the co-pilot to ward off any would-be attackers whilst unloading vehicles and troops from the rear of the ship. With all of these additional features, as well as being upgunned and presumably having better armour and shielding, it's easy to see why many people are looking forward to the Starlancer TAC's release, myself included. In many ways, the Starlancer TAC feels like a mini combat-focused Carrack with its snub fighter hangar and medical facilities, even if the medical facilities aren't quite as comprehensive as the Carrack. The medical functionality could easily be enhanced to allow respawns by storing a medical Ursa in the rear bay, which at the time of recording does allow for respawns. There are so many possibilities opened up by a ship like the Starlancer TAC, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the community manages to do with it after release. The Starlancer TAC is set to be unveiled at this year's Invictus Launch Week, and there is a real buzz about it at the moment. The image I have of a Starlancer hot dropping troops into an active war zone or hostile area like we saw with the Hathor ground facilities, and then taking off to provide air support with those belly turrets make me very excited for the missions this ship will be involved in. Even the idea of using it as a ground troop transport as part of a larger fleet is awesome in my eyes. When you throw in the snub fighter to the equation to aid in protecting the Starlancer during engagements, there's a lot to like here. To my knowledge, I don't believe the snub fighter will come with the Starlancer TAC and will be an additional purchase. However, in-game, I don't believe it's very expensive. So, what are some of the possible uses I see for the Starlancer TAC? Given its troop transport capabilities and storage capacity, the TAC could potentially become the new bunker running king. Transport and deployment of soldiers and ground vehicles during events like we saw during the Align and Mine event seem like a great use. With more capital ships entering the verse, could the TAC be used to deploy boarding teams to take control of these Goliaths in fleet scale scenarios? This may be a very long way off, but the TAC could be the perfect ship for base raids in less than lawful systems like Pyro once base building becomes a reality. It's safe to say that when the Starlancer TAC releases at ILW and appears in the verse, a lot of players are going to love this ship and what they can do with it, especially for those small combat focused teams. So what are your thoughts on the Starlancer TAC? If you plan on getting one, what do you plan to do with it? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear the kind of missions you guys are planning with this thing. And finally, as always, if you found yourself enjoying the video or found it useful, consider hitting that subscribe button for future Star Citizen content. With all of that out of the way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.